Hey friends, it's Lori with Farmhouse Stencil Shop. I have this metal wall vase that I got at Dollar Tree. It's probably been over a year since I bought this, so I'm finally going to use it. But first I have to get this label off the front. And this label was not easy to get off. I had to use Goo Gone to get that off of there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this whole thing with some Waverly chalk paint. I'm using the ivory shade. So I'm just going to really give it a good coat of paint. It took a lot of paint to cover this. I had to paint a coat and dry it and paint another coat and dry it. I think that I ended up doing like 3 coats just to cover this metal. It definitely was not easy to paint. It wasn't quick either. So after I did that and got it all dry, I am going to Mod Podge on the front of it. So I'm going to brush on my coat of Mod Podge because I'm going to decoupage. So I brush on a generous coat and then I dry it. And then I take this cute vintage style napkin. I believe I found this on eBay. I think it's adorable because it has the roses and it has stripes. And it also has some yellow in there. So it's a really cute napkin and it's really a good one for springtime. So I positioned my napkin, then I put parchment paper over it, and then I am ironing it. Now I noticed that I'm getting a lot of bubbles on this metal. So I decided it's much easier to decoupage on wood than it is on metal because I don't normally have that many problems with little bubbles. But in the end, it turned out okay, so I'm quite happy with it. So after this part, then I took my sander and I gently sanded around the edges to remove the napkin. Now I had to be careful because it was harder to remove this napkin from metal than it is wood as well, because you don't have to be as gentle when you are sanding on the wood. But this took a little bit of extra time, but I was able to get it off, and the little flaws are going to be able to be covered up anyways. So it looks good and I'm happy. So the next thing that I'm doing, I'm going to grab the dark sealing wax and I'm going to do some distressing. Now, as always, this step is optional. If you don't like this look, you do not have to do this type of thing. But I like to add this to a lot of my projects, and so I am just going to go around the edges and grungy it up just a little bit. So I did make a mistake right there. I got way too much on the bottom, and I thought, I'm just going to take a baby wipe and wipe that back off. But when I did, as you will see, I grabbed the baby wipe and I start wiping, and yeah, I start wiping here. There we go. I start wiping and I rub the napkin right off the front. So then I try to fix it a little bit and it is not fixing. So what I did was I got a little piece of the napkin, put some more Mod Podge right over that spot, and I kind of matched up. Well, I know I matched up. I matched up that leaf right there and the little rose, and I was able to just put another little piece of napkin and fix that little spot, and you can't even tell. So I just Mod Podged over that, and then I dried it, and then I sanded off the edge, and then I went back and I added more sealing wax over that too to try to hide it and blend it in with the other. But it worked out okay and it was repairable, so all is well. So now the next thing that I'm going to do is take that dark sealing wax, and I decided to grubby up the container. Now I didn't paint the back of this. It's still just the bare metal on the back and on the inside. You're not going to see those places anyways, but the sides I did, and the inside too, because I was thinking maybe you might be able to see a little through the florals. I didn't know. I am going to put florals on the inside. So I'm using this cute lace that I found on Amazon. This came in a pretty big package. It was really, really cost effective, was a lot of lace, and it was like $10. I don't even know. It might have been like 6 or 7 different styles of the lace. So it was a good deal. I'm taking the floral foam now and I'm putting some down inside the wall vase, just securing that. I did put a little bit of hot glue in there. Now it's time for me to work on my florals. So I did pick out some florals that I had on hand, but it's things that I thought would go good with this napkin. So I have these little roses on this bush, and then I had this kind of brown bush from Hobby Lobby, and I took some of those, and then I have some little miniature pinkish red flowers. So when I'm doing florals, I like to take them apart and I like to put them in little bunches and hook them back together to put them in. So I make my own little sprays in a way, and that helps me to be able to mix the florals together. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some wire, and I was putting some, it's like this brown covered wire, and you can find that on Amazon as well. And I was making little curly cues on the pencil, and I think that's really cute how just adding a little bit of something to the flowers just gives it a little extra touch. And as you can see, they're adorable. So I like to do that sometimes. And I'm new to that wire, but I'm really loving it. So I continue to just put little bunches of flowers together, and I do secure them with the floral tape, and then I put the wire around, and then I curl the wire around the pencil, and I did this a couple more times as well. When we were trying to decide on a theme for this event, Leah from Make All the Things With Me, she told me to think of some item, and I said, what about lace? She had thought of metal, and I don't know, that was the first thing that came to mind was lace. And I said, why don't we do lace? And she said that she had actually thought the same thing. So brilliant minds think alike, right? So I thought, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to mix metal and lace. And I know I could probably just easily use metal wire, but I have some metal craft supplies that I needed to use anyways. So I was like, no, I'm not going to just use metal wire. I'm definitely going to make myself use the metal craft supplies that I have. So I think this was a fun event, and I am always up for a good challenge. And having a theme to go along with really makes you have to think outside of the box and challenge yourself to find what you have and make it work, right? So now I am adding some Spanish moss to just cover in some space. I had a crafter tell me that there was nothing worse than florals that had spaces and gaps, and you know, I'm trying to think of the word, and I can't think of the word for it. But anyways, you want your florals to always be pretty full. You don't want there to be spaces, and you don't want them to look skimpy. So don't skimp on your florals. Make sure that you make a pretty bunch. So now I am taking the Mod Podge and I'm sealing over the top of that napkin, and I'm drying that really well. Now I'm going to add my lace because I had a little bit of flaws up at the top, but I thought I'm going to use that lace to cover that up because, you know, you could see that there was flaws because where I tried to sand and the paint came off the metal. So the lace did a really good job at covering that. So now I did make a bow, and I added some more of that brown wire to my bow with some more curly cues, and I really think that that turned out cute. And I used just some tea stain muslin for the bow as well. And then I just hot glued that to the side, and then I took a lace bow to put in the middle, and I think that that looks cute. So then I realized I had not put a hanger back on the project, so I flipped it over, and all that I decided to do was take a little piece of that brown wire and I fed it through the back, and then I stuck my hand through the front and just twisted it really tight and just made a little hanger for it that way. It was pretty simple, and I didn't want to leave the string that was on it It had a piece of twine that came from the Dollar Tree, but you could see it. So I just wanted something simple and small, something just enough to hold it to the wall, just enough to hang it on a nail. So now I am stenciling on a little tag. I'm using the word roses to match the napkin. Roses is just one word on a set of 16 spring stencils, or 16 spring words. I put them all on one sheet to make it simple, but they're all 3 inches or smaller to fit on little tags. So I have this little tag, and I am just going to take a little bit of the burnt umber paint. That's the color that I use to stencil. So I'm taking that and dry brushing it around the edge of the tag. And then after I'm done with that, I go back with my sealing wax, and I also grubby up the tag as well. So I think that turned out really cute. And then I have a little wooden button that I got at Hobby Lobby, and I hot glue the tag right on the front of the bow, and then I'm able to put that little wooden button right on the front of the tag. And that is basically all that I did. I think that it turned out absolutely cute. I think that a project like this would make a great gift for somebody. I hope that you like it. I love to hear your thoughts, so please let me know in the comments. And if you like what you see, please like and subscribe to my channel. This video is part of our Creating with Metal and Lace YouTube DIY collaboration, hosted by Make All the Things with Me and Farmhouse Stencil Shop. You can watch the playlist linked in the description and support all of the creators. Everyone works so hard. And now for my next project, I am taking this 2x6 that I have already stained the back and the sides. This is just pine wood, and it was scrap out of our building, so I thought I'm going to make a little shelf sitter with this. So what I'm doing is taking some burnt umber paint, and I am going to brush a coat of the burnt umber on the front. Just giving that a generous coat of paint. And then once this coat is good and dry, I am taking some petroleum jelly from the Dollar Tree. Just grab that at your Dollar Tree, and it is good to chippy. This is one technique for chipping paint, and I'm still learning these techniques, but this is one that I find to be quite easy. So I'm just taking some petroleum jelly, and I had just rubbed it on in different spots where I want the paint to be resistant. So now I'm taking Waverly Ivory chalk paint, and I am brushing that on top of the petroleum jelly, and then I'm drying it. So now I'm taking a baby wipe, and I'm just rubbing that over the board, and as you see, the paint just wipes right off. It's really weird how that works, but it does wipe off, and it ends up looking pretty good. So like I said, I'm still learning different chippy techniques, but this is one that I've used a couple of times, and I like it. So I am taking the sander, and I did sand against the grain, which is okay to do while you're crafting. There's nothing wrong with sanding against the grain, and I kind of like how that gave it even more of a distressed look. So I have this nice metal heart from Hobby Lobby. It's actually thick galvanized. It is not like the thin metal from Dollar Tree. It is a good quality heart. But I had it in my stash, so I thought I'm going to get out this metal heart, and I'm going to use this for my project. And I took some burnt umber and some cinnamon paint, and I kind of am mixing them, using a little bit of both, and I'm putting them on my brush and just making this look a little bit rusty, just kind of doing like a, well, it's not really a dry brush technique, but kind of, sort of. Just kind of brushing it around the edges and in some spots just to make it look like it is rusty metal. I did not add cinnamon to this. I just kept it paint. You can add a little bit of cinnamon and Mod Podge if you want. I know some creators do that. I just used the 2 colors of paint, and I think that it worked out okay and looks fine. So I dried that, and then I'm going to attach it to my board. So I needed to actually make a hole in the middle so I could put a little nail through it. That's what I decided to do. I am going to put some Gorilla Glue on the back, but I did want to put a nail through it just to give it that extra support. So now I'm just going to use my Gorilla Glue, and I'm just going to squeeze some of that onto the back of the heart in a few different spots. And then I'm going to place my heart back onto my board and put my little nail in the center. I think this project is going to turn out so cute. In fact, I know it is. I really like this one. And I did take the paintbrush and just kind of covered up that nail a little bit. You could still see it some, but I am going to put flowers on the front and that will hide the nail anyways. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking these two little wood rounds, and I have this vintage lace. I don't know where I got this lace. This lace is quite old, but I had it in my craft stash. It's not new lace, but I thought I'm going to make a couple of flowers out of this lace. So I just started using the hot glue and just kind of bunching the lace around and then just sticking it in the glue. And then I just continued to do that. And I did get burnt a couple of times. I can't stand to wear those little pink finger covers. They don't work out well for me. So I just brave the hot glue, you know. It's the life of a crafter, right? We have to deal with it sometimes. So I went around a couple of times with the hot glue and just continued bunching it. And then I cut off the lace, and I think that it looks really, really cute. And now I'm doing the second one, and I'm just doing that the same way, just putting some hot glue and then bunching the lace. And I went around twice on that one too. And this is an idea for that lace that has, you know, that it has the stitch on one side. I don't know if there's a special word for it, but sometimes the lace is like that for trimming things in sewing. And sometimes we're like, you know, at least I am. I'm like, what am I going to do with this, you know? But it worked out for some little flowers. And you see how I have the little wood rounds in the centers? That is the center of my flower. What I'm going to do is paint the centers of my flowers, and I'm wanting to match that to the metal heart. So I am going to paint those to make them look metal. What I did was took a coat of the Waverly Ivory, and then I took a coat of gray paint, and I painted on gray. And then I am trying to wipe off a little bit of the gray. See how the metal, the galvanized metal, has a little bit of shiny spots? I'm trying to mimic that a little bit. So I was wiping back off a little bit of the gray to just kind of give it a little bit of a shiny spot, if you know what I mean. And I think it looks okay. And then I dried that, and I took a little bit of the burnt umber and the cinnamon paint, and I brushed that onto the little wood round as well to just kind of make it look like rusty metal. I think it turned out adorable. I really, I think I accomplished the look I was trying to go for. So now it's time to put the flowers on. I already have this burlap and lace flower that I had made in another video, and I had it on hand, so I'm going to use that as well. That one's kind of in the shape of a rose, so I hot glued that down. And then I have these little white vintage like berries that I picked up in Canton, Texas when we were on our trip down there. So I'm able to use them on this project too, and I think they look cute. And now I'm gluing down my other flowers, and then I'm adding some more of those berries and a little bit of greenery, and just, you know, finishing it up with those little touches. And that is it. I think it made a cute little shelf sitter. Please let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and if you like what you see, Please like and subscribe to my channel and click the bell for notifications.